Games like Clair Obscur Expedition 33 don't come along frequently because a game like Clair Obscur takes time and patience to construct, and I'm so glad Sandfall Interactive had and took that time to make this game the best it could be. In a year that has already seen plenty of excellent games, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 stands with the best of them with an excellent combat system, a world and story rich with character and thoughtful development, and one of the most gorgeous looking and sounding games I've enjoyed ever. The gaming industry has many things wrong with it, but it's games like this one that make me so glad to be a fan, and eager to see what inspiration can come from this new creation. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a turn-based RPG developed by Sandfall Interactive and published by Kepler Interactive. The game has been under development for 5 years, starting as a solo project by director Guillaume Broche when he was working at Ubisoft, and transitioning over the years into a new studio's first game. Using his connections and some old-fashioned sleuthing, Guillaume put together a team of people from very different backgrounds, from people working on their first ever video game to veteran developers, many from Ubisoft as well. The game came out for PS5, Xbox Series and PC on April 24th, 2025 to significant critical acclaim and impressive sales numbers. In 33 days from release, the game had sold 3.3 million copies and has already been touted as a potential Game of the Year nominee/winner from many who have played it. Which is fair because it's definitely going to be in the discussion for my Game of the Year, but plenty of year to go. Some of you may wonder though, what about this game has enraptured so many players? And it's my turn to tell you what captured my attention and why I think anyone interested in RPGs should give Clair Obscur Expedition 33 a try. I'll start with the story. It has been 67 years since the paintress first appeared and painted her first number on the monolith. With each new number, a new group of people vanish into smoke, and each new year, a new expedition is sent to stop her brush from painting more death. We pick up in the city of Lumiere as the paintress is about to paint her next number. With the stroke of the brush finishing the final 3 and 33, a new expedition departs, and we go along with it. With a combination of persistent hope from its participants and dwindling hopes from the citizenry, the voyage begins. Will Expedition 33 be the ones to bring an end to the Gamage and return this world to its pre-fracture glory? Or will they become one of the expeditions who fall short and hope that their efforts will pave the way for those who come after? Tomorrow comes, and with it answers to many of the initial questions I asked, and more. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has an absolutely brilliant premise, as well as a fantastic opening. Everything about the initial part of the game emphasizes the beauty of a world that's decaying not due to purposeful neglect, but because the human society and the people within it are getting worn down. We see the devastating impact of the Gamage and how people react to it, and then we sail forth from the harbor and encounter the brutality of the world beyond, as well as the beauty. Within that world beyond, there is vibrancy and life unimaginable to the people of Lumiere and the player. We see fantastic sights and the characters bond and experience this world with wonder and joy in some places, and fear and grief in others. I was wrapped up in all the events and writing. The game was more than willing to let us learn from silence just as much as we learned from dialogue. Foreshadowing is littered throughout the game with plenty of rewards for teasing out what information we can get from dialogue and the environment. I also think the smaller cast really helped each of them shine, and the relationships the cast developed with each other are fantastic. The story is not perfect in executing all of its great ideas and thematic elements. However, I think it is important to experience the story through your own lens instead of mine while assessing the overall quality. If the premise intrigues you, I think it is worth giving this game a try. You'll get a lot out of the story if that's the case. Beyond the impressive presentation and story premise, I think the next most notable thing about Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is the combat. People have been sounding the alarms about the demise of turn-based combat for literally decades at this point, but to those like myself who have been more than happy playing many turn-based combat games from this century, I knew the genre was far from dead. I am more than happy, though, to acknowledge that Clair Obscur has a fantastic system built on the formula that I had a blast with throughout the entire adventure. Your party puts out 3 characters at once to fight against your enemies. Typically, a group of 3 enemies is the maximum you face. You have a standard attack that you can use that does not consume any AP. Each character has a ranged weapon that can be shot for 1 AP per shot. The ranged weapons are particularly helpful against certain enemies with high dodge rates and can be used to strike particular points on enemies that can hamper their abilities or do significant damage. For the most part though, what you'll be using your AP for are skills. All of the skills have a timing-based button prompt that follows them that, if done correctly, can boost their effectiveness. Each character has a set of skills they can learn and equip, and usually they flow together with the particular gimmick that each member of your party has. Mael's gimmick is her stances, which can range from her defensive stance, which lowers damage dealt and received, to her virtuos stance, which increases her damage by a whopping 200%. Each skill has a stance associated with it that may cause Mael to shift to a new stance or stay in the old stance, and on top of that, the skills can be enhanced when in certain stances. For instance, Mael's early game skill Per Se, which does huge amounts of damage to marked targets, usually costs 5 AP, unless you are in Virtuos stance when it costs 2 AP. Each character has a system like this one. It lends a lot of weight to each character's distinct playstyle and how you build and use them. That doesn't mean you can't adjust their role depending on skills, but it gives a direction for the character to head in, and it's a lot of fun to put together devastating combinations. Now, as for the enemies, they have their skills as well, and it's crucial to learn them quickly because the other main part of the game involves good timing. For your skills, you have the button prompts on screen, but you can also use precisely timed button presses to either dodge, parry, or later on jump attacks. Conceivably, this could result in you managing to defeat a foe, a boss, or maybe even the whole game without taking a single point of damage so long as you time things up well. However, the game likes to be tricky with these, and you'll learn early on that your eyes may deceive you. Ears are less likely to deceive, but it's harder to hear the audio cues with music and dialogue going, and, well, we're not turning those off. The music is way too good to turn off. Early on, you're typically only dodging or parrying a single strike, but as the game goes on, you'll have to contend with multiple strikes, and especially for parrying, getting all of them is how you can pull off a counterattack to turn things in your favor. So you've got your challenge laid out for you. Now, in my video previewing the game, I talked about this being a potential sticking point for me and other players. How generous would the system be in the timing? How punishing are the consequences of failure? Well, the good news is that while the system is not the most lenient with timing, the consequences for failure in most battles are not insurmountable. Sure, it may set back your plans to have to heal someone up, but between your healing skills and the healing tints you collect, you have a chance to get back into the battle. I had some incredibly tense encounters where an early misplay left me on the back foot, but I was able to claw my way back to level and then defeat the enemy, and let me tell you, that was incredibly satisfying. I even pulled this off with some bosses. You don't need to be perfect to beat the game at the standard difficulty. You will need to learn the system and have a decent success rate though, at least on the dodges. Dodges give a more generous timing than parries. For the most part, I thought Clair Obscur Expedition 33 set up a bunch of interesting foes with creative attacks and abilities that kept me on my toes while still offering opportunities to recover and hit back even harder. Anytime I lost a fight, I knew what I needed to do next time to succeed. Although in a couple cases that was, go and level up because you are way underleveled for this area. In addition to the skills you can learn, the biggest thing for building up your characters for battle comes with the Pictos system. Each character can equip 3 Pictos, which gives certain advantages, both in the form of a stat boost and a specific skill. One of my favorite Pictos was Sweet Kill, which recovered 50% of a character's health after they killed an enemy. It would be sad though if only one character could have each of these Pictos, and thankfully, once you have mastered a Picto by equipping it for 4 victories in battle, it becomes available to other characters to use, not through their Picto slots, but through a different system. Using their Lumina points, characters can equip the effects, but not the stat boosts, of other Pictos. You can stack some great abilities this way, from making Gustav a monster at breaking enemies, to improving Mael's ability to obliterate anything that has the burn status effect. Discovering new Pictos and figuring out new combinations of equipped and Lumina Pictos to put on each character will satisfy any of those who love tinkering with specific character combinations to make something incredibly powerful, to the point of being broken in some cases. Overall, the combat and the building of each character hooked me from the moment I started. I do think the dodge and parry system will deter some people, and I wish the developers had given more options to overcome that, but I had a great time with the combat system, and I hope other developers will take lessons from it. Now, as for the levels themselves, I was thoroughly impressed by how detailed they were. Visually, of course, they are spectacular, but they were also very cleverly constructed. You don't have any form of mini-map to track things, but getting lost is rare since for the most part it is a straightforward path. The game is good at guiding you to the path needed while still having clues around to find more if you are keeping a sharp lookout. Leaving the path to track down side adventures, side bosses, and other goodies though has significant value and rewards for doing so. In each area you'll have Pictos to find, Chroma, the currency in game, Lumina points, expedition journals, and more. I have always been a fan of well-designed, purposeful levels like we've had in games like Persona 5, and Clair Obscur only reinforced my enjoyment of them. You'll also have flags in each area, which is where you can rest to replenish your health and stock of items. It is at those flags that you can unlock new skills and upgrade attributes, as well as fast traveling between the flags of the area. That is for the in-area exploration. You'll also have plenty of time traversing on the overworld map, where you do have a map to travel by. There are enemies and things to collect out on the overworld as well, but mostly you're just taking in the scenery and proceeding to the next point. At least until the game persuades you to rest at camp, which you should absolutely do. It is at camp where additional opportunities open up on the character and gameplay side of things. For the characters, you'll have specific events to see that reveal more about characters, their backstories, their relationships to the rest of the cast, etc. As I said before, more time spent with the characters is always worth it, so I was glad to see these events. On the gameplay side of things, at camp you can upgrade your weapons as well as upgrade your tints items for healing, energy, and revival, and increase the Lumina points for each character. While it would have been nice if each camp had a distinct location or flavor to them, instead of the same one for every campsite, the utility in gameplay and the character bonding moments are more than enough to keep my attention while playing. As for side content, the game really opens up towards the end, with plenty of side areas to visit and challenges to take on. A lot of the enemies in these side areas are even more powerful than the final area and the final boss, so it seems to me much of it should be enjoyed after finishing the game. There are also some non-combat challenges, from collecting expedition journals, lost gestrels, or just going to the beach and playing some volleyball. While the main story has enough to satisfy me, I do also appreciate the willingness to put more in for players who just can't get enough of the game. Now, presentation is one of those areas that I think we all could predict from the first moments the game was revealed was going to be a standout feature in Clair Obscur. The game looks beautiful. Every location within each area looks gorgeous from top to bottom. I found myself spinning the camera up to see all the details and radiance all around me while walking around and exploring. How can you not? This applies mainly to the natural landscape, but the buildings and ruins are just as striking. Then you have the creativity put into the designs of the characters and the creatures inhabiting the land, whether they be foes like the Nevrons or friends like the Gestrels. The UI is similarly fantastic, especially in battle, with easy to understand menus and descriptions. For a game without a map most of the time, the game guides players effectively through level design and UI to the most important things to find in an area. As for the music, it is incredible. I compared it to Nier's soundtrack when I first heard it, and you can definitely hear the inspiration, but it's so richly defined and tied to this game in the vocals, in the instrumentation, and in the subject matter that it becomes wholly and beautifully unique. The tone shifts well between all the moments of the game, enhancing every scene, and in the few moments when it is absent, you will feel that in your bones. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 may well have a perfect soundtrack. I couldn't find any fault with it in my experience, at least. Building on that quality are the voice actors and their across-the-board great performances. The cast put their hearts into their performances, and it shows in the best way. With such a talented cast to begin with, you expect top-tier acting, and that is what they delivered. The user experience is also solid with nice responsive controls and a great feeling when pulling off dodges and the like. It is in accessibility that Clair Obscur unfortunately falls short. There are things that can help with challenging areas for accessibility such as button pressing, but it's sadly limited to just the attack and support skills and not any defensive ones. You know, the crucial ones to stay alive. It would be more challenging to include it due to the variance and attacks from enemies, but it is sad to see that they didn't even attempt to. I hope that story mode difficulty is enough for players to overcome that, or that they update the game in the future, mostly because I think so many players would love to play this game, but may be physically unable to, and that's a shame. When it comes to presentation, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 delivers exactly what we all hoped for upon seeing it initially. The art is gorgeous and the game maximizes that by showing the environments off creatively in cutscenes with well-framed camera angles and shots, as well as simply letting us go and look at everything in-engine. The vocal performances fit the pedigree of the voice actors they hired, although I will say some of the ones I didn't know coming into the game actually had the most memorable performances. The music is going to be one of those soundtracks that I return to time and time again for when I want to give my daily life a more dramatic flair. You would never know this was the composer's first ever video game score. It's hard to not gush about how well the game does the presentation elements, and thankfully, the game itself holds up to that quality so well, which is a relief to those of us who have been burned by great looking but not so great playing games in the past. It is the least surprising thing to me that Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has done so well. I could have predicted that from before the game was released, or before I got the chance to play the game. About the only thing that I think would have built more hype for the game would have been a demo, and even without it, the game has been a smash hit. Clair Obscur is one of those games that will stick in people's minds for years and years to come. I expect to still be having discussions about the game akin to Nier Automata or Persona 5 or 10 years from now. If you want to experience this fantastic game for yourself, I welcome you to do so. I especially encourage it for RPG players of all types and those who love to see fantastic worlds and build powerful characters. Thank you to Sandfall and Kepler Interactive, as well as Guillotine Agency, for a coverage code for the game. If you enjoyed my video on Clair Obscur, I would be most grateful if you would show your appreciation via liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Comment below your thoughts on Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Have a great day, and happy gaming.